appreciate your time, and we apologize for the extended delay. We've got a few technical issues that we haven't been able to solve 100%, but we're almost there, and we should be able to run. So we're here because we want to have a conversation, a community conversation about some of the issues that are happening that relate to Africans. And let me just make a few things clear. The way we want to run this forum, we've got 3 chairs here. So whoever wants to talk, I will be inviting people. Whenever you want to say something, you come here and you talk. That way it makes it easy for us to do the sound. And also it gives a good opportunity for some people to talk and others to listen. And I would really hope that we'll have a very good conversation. We've got members of the police force here. We've got members of parliament. We've got community members. We've got people from all walks of life, and it's really a very good thing that we're here. We were normally going to run the interview that I did with Deputy Commissioner Tim Cartwright, but unfortunately I've been trying to get my Mac to connect with a VGA port, and it just wouldn't work. Some of those things you would probably understand. So unfortunately, I'm not able to run that. But I hope that many of you have had a chance to to watch that on the website. Raise your hand if you've had a chance to watch the interview. Okay, so I think the majority of people did watch that interview. Okay. I will summarize a little bit for the people who may not have had that chance. When I spoke to Deputy Commissioner Tim Cartwright, basically it was about the article that was published on The Age, in The Age on the 20th of August, that many of you know. The article itself raised a lot of concerns in the community. So there was concern from the police and concern from the community about the whole issue. And I asked him to explain, to clarify how, because the article was about his statement. He was expressing his concern over the fact that African youth, specifically Sudanese and Somali youth groups, are overrepresented in crime statistics. That's the bottom line of it. But then the way it was put together, some people believe that it could have been done better, and some community members have pretty much called that racial profiling. So I put these questions to him, and he basically is saying that he was contacted by a journalist from The Age seeking to have a chat with him about the statistics, and he had a choice to either not talk to the journalist or do it because the journalist was going to have access to the data anyway, so he thought he would have a chat with him. But overall, he was very apologetic about the whole thing. The comparison with Cronulla, in comparison with London Riots, that was some of the things that really community members did not appreciate. As many of you have watched that, we're going to have a chat around those.
I'm Adam Bant. I'm the Member of Parliament for Melbourne, which is just over there, the other side of the Maribyrnong. I live about 100 metres away from the flats in Flemington. And Melbourne has a very high number of African Australians living in it. I guess I want to talk about something slightly different, but I think it relates. I want to talk about employment and inclusion. My sense is that we as a broader society at the moment are probably failing when it comes to proper employment and inclusion opportunities for members of the African community. There are some very, very good success stories, and I think we need to talk about those as much as we can. But the statistics, we talk about overrepresentation. I think we need to talk about the statistics that show the overrepresentation of people who've come here from non-English speaking backgrounds in unemployment and underemployment. And I've spoken to a number of people who will have sent off hundreds of job applications and you don't even get a response, or you turn up to the interview and they might not even give you past the first round interview because you turn up in a hijab or because of the colour of your skin, and then you send off an employment application with a different name on it, and all of a sudden they're ringing up and offering the job. And in my view, I think that when you have that happening, especially for people who have studied here, but when you have it also with parents who might have skills from other countries but aren't being recognised here, I think we have a very real risk of people saying, well, why should I bother? I mean, it's so tough to get in Australia. One of the other things that I've heard is people saying in Australia, when it comes to finding a job or starting a business, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and how are we breaking into those networks and so on. And then I think that leads to the cycle where you don't get a job, it's harder to get into education, and then a lot of people have a lot of time on their hands. And then that offers more time, and then what are you going to do? And I mean, and I see it near my house. If you've got that extra time on your hands, you wander down the end of the street near the KFC or the McDonald's, and every day that I walk past there, almost every day, I see police cars stopping people and talking to people on the corner of those streets. And I actually think that's up to us as a broader community, and I've been doing some things with members of the African community in Melbourne to try and fix that. But I think unless that's what we need to address at the source, I think that's one of the key problems. Right. Well, look, one of the things that there was an article before this recent one where people were quoted and there was a suggestion that it was being misrepresented about the London riots, and people saying this is similar to London riots. Now, I don't think that people are about to go onto the streets and turn over cars and start burning them, but I think we have to accept that the frustration is real. Like, people are feeling that frustrated, and whilst I can understand that some people might be upset and think it's a misrepresentation, I think the better way to understand it is to say, hang on, what's the source of the frustration? How can we fix it?
All right.
I'm Colleen Hartland. I'm the Greens Upper House member in the Western Suburbs, and my office is just down the road. And I think what I'd like to be talking about is what are the solutions that we can come up with? I've heard from a lot of young people exactly the same kind of problems that Adam's talking about. And so how can someone like I help the community to make sure that people are getting the education that they require, but then getting into the jobs that they're actually qualified for, and being able to get enough English language courses. And we were talking before about mentors. How do we find the mentors for young people? And so I'd be really interested to hear the conversation today about what you think that someone like I could also help you with.
Yeah, my name is James. I'm a resident of Maribyrnong. There were two things that I wanted to raise about the article. When I was growing up, I was always told, until today I think, people keep telling me that the devil is always in the details. And every time something is released, some statistics, some information, I like to look deeper into what actually is in the numbers. My concern is that the numbers were not correct. Why do I say that? One, there were two sets of statistics about crime that were released within the same month. In those two sets of statistics, there was one that was mostly about the Sudanese and Somali youth, where it says the Sudanese and Somalis were about 5 times more likely to commit crime compared to the wider community. And in that article, the figure for the wider community was 1,300 per every 100,000 of the population. That was fine. 2 weeks later, the Victoria Police released another set of statistics for the wider community, and it said crime had increased by about 6.8%. And do you know does anyone know what that figure for the wider community was? Can anyone quote it for me? It was 7,020. That is the figure that Victoria Police reported about everybody else, about the whole community. They said it is 7,020 out of every 100,000 of the population. Yet, on the other hand, when they were reporting about the Africans, the figure was placed at 1,300. And you ask yourself, why would that happen? How can these statistics be different if it's about the same community? What happened was, when you divide 7,000 109, which is the figure that was put as a crime rate among the Sudanese youth, and divided by 5, we find 1,300. So the fact remains that it's not 1,300, but it's just close to that. The fact remains that the 5 times likelihood of Sudanese committing crime is not justified in those statistics. It's not justified, and it's false. And I feel we actually, as a community, need to recognize that there is an issue there. There's an issue of whether the numbers were correct or not, and why these numbers were manipulated in a different way. So that when you're reporting about Sudanese, it's less for the wider community. When you're reporting about the wider community, it's actually very high.
Okay, thanks very much. We'll hear the next.
My name is Sinke. I'm from the Arama community. So what I want to say is that it's not about playing the blame game. It's about if there is an issue where there is that crime, we gotta have to investigate what are the underlying issues, which is one of them was one of the issues that Adam Bant says was that unemployment, which is absolutely true. So if people don't have that employment or they're not attending schools, they have that free time to spend outside, they will definitely go and do what's not necessary. So for us to do to overcome that, we're gonna have to work with more, with the communities with that employment. And then, if we keep on blaming, we're not gonna move forward. So I would suggest it's about African communities having a governance from family stage to the upper level about committing their kids to where they're supposed to be at a certain time, having that responsibility to follow on and to step up from what we have with that crime rate. So if we have that number saying we have this amount of people committing crimes, it's not good for the general community. So if we have a minor community members doing that, it's really going to affect us. So it has a negative connotation. So what should we do? It's about where have we gone wrong? Are we just going to sit here and blame the police, or are we going to blame the government? Where is our fault? So can we also critically look at our responsibilities as families, as a community, and then where can we seek help? Can we go to the police? Can we go to the governments? Can we go to different NGOs, organizations, and work with them? That's the only way we can get out of this. Like, I know the Sudanese communities are working with the African media organizing something like that. That is really having a good effect on the community. So I think it's about pinpointing the issues and then working out where next. So that's my.
Well, thanks very much. In other words, you're saying yes, there are issues within our communities. Maybe the way the communication was done about these crime statistics wasn't the best way, but at least there are issues there that we need to deal with.
Absolutely.
We shouldn't just be blaming the police, Victoria Police, and then forget about those issues, including the link with unemployment and all other things that may be in the community.
Yeah, there are the problems. We're gonna stop blaming and work together.
Okay, no problem. We'll go to the next speaker.
Okay, my name is Asunta Kerry. I'm from SAYAC, also from the Sudanese community as well. SAYAC stands for Sudanese Australian Youth Action Group. It is a youth-initiated program, and we work very well with young people that are within the Sudanese community as well as the African community into addressing issues such as employment, issues like what Adam has said before about the failure of education, the inability of a young person going to a job interview and then not having to get that direct response about where to go from there. So that is something that we're planning on, is that pretty much we do realize that there is an issue. And come from a young person's perspective, I mean, I could possibly say that, it is much about knowing who you know in order to get a job, but then also it comes down to what the community is willing to do about it. Because sometimes when you're growing up, you need those role models, and then even though when you have other people that are out there, but they're not actually going to hold your hand along the way into a job interview, or either telling you to go and do these particular courses, it is within ourselves. So what SAYAC is doing is that we advocate on behalf of young people in all over Victoria, and we promote, we do referrals to various education or either unemployment areas. And then so how the Career Expo comes about, it is pretty much addressing the issues that are within a community that, you know, even if you don't quite know whether what the correct pathway to education it is, that's what we're doing. And so it is coming up, and what Colleen was saying about, you know, what can someone like her do in order to assist young people about finding the right pathway. So as a SAG member, I do absolutely, I do take that into acknowledgement that you come to either talk to one of us about it because we are seeking help, and we need as much help as possible to help young people like me, and then the younger generation as well, to find a better opportunity in Australia. So
Okay.
I'm quite happy.
Thanks very much. I guess the question is, obviously the police has responsibility to address issues, and crime is one of them, and the police is part of the community. What are your perspective in how we've come to this situation where there's quite a bit of blame being placed on the police in the manner that it is communicating with the community?
Well, yeah, I can kick it off, and that leads to numerous things that we could talk about, and I'm happy to talk about. Just listening to the three previous speakers, there's a couple of important things. Statistics are dangerous, regardless of the raw numbers, the way statistics can be interpreted in any manner, and I'm not a statistician, but the way they can be interpreted can be very risky. So that's the first thing that I'd like to say, and I'm aware, dealing with our own statistics about a multitude of things, theft of cars and all sorts of things that we deal with, that we've got to be very careful about the way we interpret them. That's the first point. Perhaps, I guess, more importantly and more philosophically in terms of community benefit, I listened with great interest about two things there. One was education, and the other was about taking control of one's own destiny to a degree. Mm-hmm. And that is what we see in any community is people that are undereducated or less than desirably educated struggle with employment. Now, the education doesn't need to be academia, it can be vocational. And I think there's sometimes there's a misrepresentation there that just because people don't have an academic education, that they're different from others. There's a multitude of other skills that are useful to the community in a vocational manner, such as trades and things, and they should be pursued to open up additional employment opportunities. There's an old saying that a lot of you would have heard that, you know, idle hands are the devil's worship, and people that are disengaged here through lack of education, can't get a job, can lead to difficulties in any community. The final point there, the final point was about education and about the community working together. So yes, Victoria Police has got an obligation and responsibility to the people of Victoria. Fundamentally,